Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude, and friends. And today we're going to talk about, aren't we going to talk there, Snowball? We're going to talk about Parrot Jujitsu. Now, most of you probably think of Jujitsu as self-defense. It's basically fighting, but if you study it, you'll see it's actually using the other person's actions against them, okay? In this case, we're doing Parrot Jujitsu. We're using their behaviors as stepping stones to new behaviors, okay?
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say in...
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
So instead of looking at behavior as, oh God, I got to change that, you start to look at it as, wow, how can I use that behavior that I don't want to get the behavior I do want? Okay, that's Parrot Jujitsu. That's throwing the behavior in the direction you want it to go. Okay, does that make sense? So we're not talking about fighting with our parrots, right? Snowball, right? Do you agree? No, bird. You must agree with me. Don't you think? You don't think? Oh, such a good boy, Snowball. He is not knowing what's going on. He's not used to being in a room as a focal of a couple of cameras, right? You're not, are you? You're just not used to this, are you? So, as someone who practices Parrot Jujitsu, you'll be using the behavior of your parrot, okay, and levering it for an advantage, okay? So that's why you think of it as Jujitsu. Now, the definition, which I'll read to you, is an art of weaponless self-defense developed in Japan that uses throws, holds, and blows, and derives added power from the attacker's own weight and strength. So, we're going to derive our power from our parrot's behavior, okay? Right. Say right, Snowball. This requires a little thinking outside of the box, and if you've seen the way these guys get when they get inside of a box, they're digging, they're trying to make a nest. We do that too. We make nests inside of our minds of thoughts, and we put those thoughts up on little pedestals, and like, that's my thought. Now I believe that. Okay, my bird is a good bird, my bird is mean, whatever. We put our little thoughts up there, and these things go onto pedestals. I've heard it described as having your own set of CDs, although that's kind of old, that you have down in the basement, but you keep a couple right by the player, right? And you just bring those out over and over. Whenever you're dealing with your parrot, you bring out a couple of behaviors, your own behaviors that you have on CD, and you play them. So to get out of that, we have to stop thinking inside the box and start thinking outside the box. Right, Snowball? You're going to talk? You're just shocked by this whole thing, aren't you? You're just shocked by this whole thing. You want me to talk to you? Is that what you want? So when you're thinking outside of the box, think of it this way. Now, you have a bird that comes charging up to you. You just got this bird, okay, or whatever, and the bird comes charging up to you, right up to the cage, lunges at you, all right? Even when the door isn't open. That's an advantage. What would a parrot jujitsu master do with that? Well, they're running up to you. That's something. It's not like you have to coax the bird up, so you've got that part handled. So let me give you an example. Marley, who I was told, he's a double yellow-headed Amazon. Marley hates men, is what I was told, and he will always try to bite them. So he was running up, lunging at me. So I figured out what food he liked the best, okay? And what he likes best is edamame, which is just a soybean pod. You cook them. They're pretty tasty, actually, but I actually hadn't tried them until recently. I've been feeding them to the birds because I know they're good for them and they like them, right? Right, Snowball? Snowball, Snowball. Good boy. So what I did is he'd run up, start lunging at me, and just using cum-bearing gifts, which we've talked about before. This is something you can learn from Dr. Zelig's course. Cum-bearing gifts, what I would do is he'd come running up, and then I'd bring up an edamame and give it to him. Didn't ask him to do anything, just gave him the gift. We call this non-contingent reinforcement. You're not giving them anything. In this case, you are reinforcing a behavior which is coming up and being nice, being friendly to you. But it didn't start that way. He'd run up, I'd give him an edamame. And after about a week of this, he started looking at me like, has he got something for me? Okay. And he would run up when I'd come up to the cage. He'd run up and look like, you got something for me? Now we've gone from running up, lunging, to, do you have a treat for me? So the jujitsu move here is to take that aggression, that move of, I'm coming up to get you, okay, which is just defending his cage, to, what you got for me? And then I started, just for 1 second, holding it up to him and going, look, look. Just saying look, and then giving it to him. Now, over time, this has become, I can do this for a minute. I can stand there, I say look, and I don't have to even cue him anymore. Just look at him. As long as I keep looking at him, he'll keep looking at me. And then I can give him his edamame. I don't stretch it past a minute yet. I might get it up to 10 minutes before long, but right now it's at a minute. So I've taken that lunging and turned it into running up to the cage to see, like, oh, there's my friend. What has he got for me? Okay? You see how that's like a jujitsu move? I took his behavior and spun it around so that now he's running up with a positive reason. Now, Marley is going to get a lot of extra training here. I mean, we're going to use Marley for a little extra training on everyone out there now. It is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babaloo into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries and eventually Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. Another thing is that if you put your arm in his cage, his tendency, Marley's tendency, is to grab a hold of it to get up. And when I say grab, I mean he's going to grab you hard. The solution I have for that, the fact that he runs up and grabs something, is I put a perch in there. And he runs up, bites the perch, pulls himself up on the perch, and then I pull him out. Now, I've used that aggression against the perch as a way to get him out of the cage. And once he's out of the cage, he says, "I love you." He says, the first time I did it, I brought him right out and I said, "I love you. I love you." And then he just looked at me. Now, I'm holding an edamame in the other hand while I'm saying this, okay? Then I just proceeded to go outside with him. Now, he does not fly. I mean, he can fly to the ground, but he doesn't fly. Doesn't have the strength in his chest because he hasn't done it in so long. So, I've got him on the perch. I take him outside. I put him on a perch in the aviary. Now he's in the aviary, okay? He's in the aviary. I give him the edamame as a treat. He doesn't really even need the edamame to go in there anymore, but I do it. It's just, that's his little reward for being good. And after a while, he started, like when I'm saying, "I love you, Marley, I love you, Marley," he started putting his wings up and making cooing sounds at me. Okay? The point is, the parrot jujitsu was, here's a bird that is running up to attack the perch or anything that you put in your arm or whatever. I used that as a way to get him on the perch, and then once he's outside, he's not aggressive. Okay? He could be if you're not dealing with him right, but he's not aggressive if you deal with him properly. So that was just a two-step thing. I had him out of the cage and happy and out to the aviary just like that. Now, the first couple of days out there, he was hanging over me like a bat in the cage, and I just ignored it. Like, okay, if he falls on me and wants to bite me, that's the way it's going to be. Okay, I just tuned it out. And eventually he came and sat next to me. So he's sitting now. Here's another parrot jujitsu thing, and we're going to use Marley pretty much throughout this thing, I guess. He's sitting on the perch, right next to me, because there's a little perch I have right next to the chair in the aviary. And there's two birds on either side, and he wants to get off that perch. He's just dying to get off the perch. He wants to go somewhere else. These other two birds are around him. They were both umbrella cockatoos. I can't remember who it was, but so he obviously wanted to get out, so I put my arm down there, and he climbed right up on my arm and sat on my arm. And we sat, and I talked to him and told him, "I love you, Marley," and he sat on my arm and he cooed and everything. Then a little later on, about 15 minutes later, he wandered off, wanted to do something else. I put him where he wanted to go. The jujitsu is seeing, in this case, he wants to get out of there. I offered him a way out, and he didn't even use his beak as he usually does when he's in a territorial situation. So start thinking about how you can use behavior, the things that they're doing, to help them change to different behaviors. Now, this one's not Marley, but for example, I had Roman, who we now call him his original name, Romeo, but there's reasons for that, but we won't go into it. I will change their names around a little bit of change to their names. If there's a problem they have to get over. But anyway, Romeo was chewing the molding next to the door when I would let him out of the cage. Well, obviously he's chewing wood. He needs to chew wood. They have to chew wood. It's something they got to do, right? So I thought about it. What could I possibly do? Oh, so what I did was I took the molding off that side of the wall and drilled a 2x4 there. When he was done with that 2x4, he'd made a perfectly rounded edge on it. I have that thing. It's quite something to see. He made a totem pole. All you need is the little figures on there. I actually did have one of our volunteers who didn't last very long say she was going to make little, cockatoos to put on the totem pole. But she never did. But it's pretty cool. Again, going for wood, chewing on wood, think of how you can enhance that. Now, some people don't want a 2x4 on their wall. Okay? You brought a parrot into your home, you're going to have to make some changes. If you're one of those people, as I call them, the white carpet people, who likes to have white carpet and everything has to be neat and in its place, then you probably shouldn't have parrots. Because in the wild, being neat is not something they do. I mean, when they eat a piece of fruit, they eat it halfway down. Right, Snowball? They eat it halfway down, and then they throw the other half away. Because that's the handle. Right? When you're eating a berry and you start to get to where you're going to get it all over yourself, you drop it, right? So you don't get the berry all over yourself. That's the handle, right, Snowball? Right, Snowball? Now, another one where you're seeing some parrot jujitsu is Bob was kept at a place where the only time they took him out of the cage was for the purpose of cleaning that cage. So he didn't get out for terribly long while they were doing it. And how do you get to stay out of the cage? Well, you do that by threatening other people, by lunging forward, by opening your beak and looking like you're going to bite. Then people back off. So it's a great way to control people. So he's like that with his cage. If you wanted to clean Bob's cage while he's in it, good luck. You're going to need a lot of luck. So, but Jiu-Jitsu, what does he like to do? Well, he likes to get out of that cage, okay? So, when I'm going to clean his cage, because he's in the night room, and that's because he's developed this constant screaming because of his prolapse. If he's around other birds, he will eventually start screaming and just keep doing it. And the screaming just means repeating the same squawking sound every couple of seconds for hours on end, okay? So he has to be in a separate room or he'll do that. So what I do is I just, come on, Bob, and he likes a little bit of peanut butter on a stick, so come on. I take him out of there and I take him to another cage, which is empty at the time, put him in that cage, give him the peanut butter and close the door, clean his cage and put him back in it. Another little piece of, on a craft stick, a tiny little bit of peanut butter, and that's fine. He likes to get out, so I'm using that as an advantage in both cases. First he's in a cage where he wants to defend it. He wants to come out, so I get him out. Then I put him in another cage and give him a reward. Then I take him out of that cage, which he likes to get out of cages, put him in the other one and give him a reward. Parrot Jiu-Jitsu, my friends. Parrot Jiu-Jitsu, it works. Now, the more you know about parrots in general and the species you're dealing with in specific, the better you're going to do with this. Because if you're looking at him, he's calm, his feathers are pulled to his body, he's just sitting here all relaxed, aren't you? I thought maybe you'd talk, but you just want to relax. That's a good boy. By the way, this had nothing to do with being bitten, this had to do with not knowing how to use hand tools. Let's leave it at that. When I put the new ropes in the aviary, well, anyway, but it had nothing to do with them, they didn't do it. Did you? Don't get the wrong idea. So to sum it up, look for things you can use jiu-jitsu on. You can turn a bird rushing at you, lunging, into a bird rushing up to you to get a treat. Okay? You can take a bird that's chewing molding and turn it into a bird that's eating a 2x4. You can take a behavior where a bird is doing anything, okay? And you can look at it and say, how can I use that to my advantage? Now, another thing to keep in mind, they have to still fulfill their desires in some way. So when I took the molding off the wall, I had to replace it with something they could chew without a problem. Now, the other side of it is, of course, molding is cheap if you want to keep putting it up. But I'll tell you that if you're going to put molding up there, every time you put a new piece, most of these birds are going to go, wow, something new to chew on. That's not true of parrots as much as it is cockatoos. Cockatoos are more tolerant of change than your true parrot is, right? I don't know why they call them true parrots, but these guys are different. I mean, they have crests, they have gallbladder, they have a few things the other birds don't have, so try to think outside the box. Think about what behavior they're doing and how you can take that behavior and extend it or change it over time. This is behavior shaping in general, and I think you'll have a much better chance of working with your bird if you don't look at every behavior as, oh my God, I got to change that, but rather, how can I use that to my advantage? So you all become parrot jujitsu masters, okay? I expect you all to be parrot jujitsu master. I'll take my samurai sword now and say, see you next time. We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.